if you're using porn as the coping mechanism for pain in your life, too long, it turns into a big problem.
Brothers, welcome to today's episode of the Porn to Purpose podcast. We're live here, and I'm joined by my prestigious partner in crime, Yeadon Smith. Yeadon, welcome. It's an honor to have you with us here today, brother.
Matt, always good to be in front of the camera, behind the microphone, or
Yes, sir.
wearing the headset to talk about every guy's favorite topic,
Yes, sir.
the porno.
Yes, sir. Brothers, we got a special episode for you here today because we've got a real life results conversation today. Yeadon and I were digging into some conversation points around today's episode, and Yeadon felt some inspiration to share around the conversation of active recovery and how Yeadon's active recovery journey actually translates into real world results. And I think he's going to be speaking specifically to some things that have been transpiring over the last week. So Yeadon, why don't you go ahead and take it away, brother?
Oh, man. Thank you, Matt. Prestigious colleague, man. Anytime people put me up on those pedestals, I invariably fall off and put me on like a 3-inch pedestal, right?
Fair
It doesn't
enough.
hurt so much. I can just step off of that. Anything much higher, it's painful when I hit the ground. So, yeah, we were planning this podcast, and real life has happened to me in a not insignificant way this past week. And I wanted to share it with y'all listeners out there. First off, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for joining. I hope this story has meaning and can help you with wherever you are in the journey towards freedom, the journey from porn to purpose.
Yes.
So, yeah, last week, actually, right around this time, I was sitting in the cardiac ICU at the hospital downtown Charleston because my 76-year-old father, about 10, 12 days ago, had a heart cath procedure to look at his heart. Arteries all over the place, blocked. Can't put in stents. So he went from having a test done Thursday morning to getting quadruple open heart bypass surgery scheduled for Monday.
Wow.
Just over a week ago, he was in the OR, right? Sternum open, bypassing arteries, reworking the plumbing around his heart to address the issue of blocked arteries. And then today, just this morning, my mother, who I'm not at liberty to say how old she is, or she will disown me, but my dad is 76, so you can just take a guess. My mother went in for it's called the Mohs procedure, MOHS, I think. It's where they cut out melanoma cancer on your skin. And they cut it out little by little until they don't find any, and then they give you a clean bill. It's an aggressive form of skin cancer. It's like, you got to get rid of it or no bueno. My dad, with the blocked arteries, facing the surgery, is like, you need this surgery or you are a ticking time bomb. You will probably fall over out at the family farm collecting eggs from the chickens, and somebody will just find you in a field gone. So suffice it to say, this past week has been a roller coaster. Just up, down, left, right, upside down, corkscrews, steep drops of emotions. And I've been thinking about it. And I think about how, right, y'all, if you've been following the podcast for any length of time, you've heard us talk about the myths of porn addiction, the myths of using porn, right? Men, as men, we're really great at rationalizing. It's like, oh man, I have a high sex drive. It's like, I don't want to bother my wife. Oh, I'm not hurting anybody, right? Victims, whatever, all those myths that we've unpacked in previous episodes. And I was thinking about how we also talk at length on almost every episode. We hit on the truth that it's not a porn problem, it's a pain problem. And porn is the pill that we take for the pain. one of the pain meds my dad made, they prescribed him Tylenol for pain. They also prescribed him the heavy stuff, right? Like narcotic level pain meds. And I was having the conversation with my dad. I was like, Dad, if your pain is high at the end of the day, don't worry about taking this pain med. It's short term. Take the pain meds. You can get a good night's sleep. Your body needs to rest. Your body needs to heal. So I understand, like, pain meds are real. And for men in emotional pain, the pain med is equally real. We have to manage our pain somehow. And for me, for Matt, for so many men out there, our go-to med, Pornhub, or fill in the blank with whatever website is your go-to. We reach for the porn because the pain is too great. And you know, how many times have you acted out, used porn, and then the next day it's like, man, I didn't want to do that. What was going on? I didn't want to use pornography again. I told myself that was the last time. I don't know how many last times I've had on my road to finding sobriety and finding recovery. And I wanted to share some huge wins, man. Wherever you are listening on this past week, the emotional pain of watching my father get wheeled out of the waiting area. And I know quadruple bypass surgery, honestly, it's pretty routine in this day and age. It's not an uncommon surgery. It's something that happens regularly. High percentages of success. Very low percentage that anything goes wrong. But it's not zero. It's not zero. It's not like when I was 14 and broke my leg. It's like there was no doubt my leg was going to heal and I was going to recover. And actually, my lower left leg is actually thicker than my right leg because it recovered even stronger. When you're 76, going in there, opening your chest and messing around with all the plumbing inside, there's risk. Watching my dad get wheeled away, man, it hit me like a freight train. It's like, I don't know for sure that I'm going to see my dad again. Now, surgery was wildly successful. They bypassed 5 arteries. Got to see him on Monday afternoon. Down at the hospital with him on Tuesday. Actually recorded last week's episode of the podcast from the hospital parking garage with Matt. Got him home on Thursday. And I'm actually at my parents' house now recording this podcast because my dad still needs a lot of help getting in and out of bed. He's strong enough to stand up on his own, sit down on his own. But the emotions from this past week have been incredibly uncomfortable. Not only with my dad, but with my mom gearing up for her procedure this morning, getting her arm, cut on and having to get it sutured at her age. That's not a small thing. I'm reminded of a saying I heard once: the only minor surgeries in life are ones that happen to somebody else. That's the only kind of minor surgery that exists. If it's happening to you, doesn't matter how minor it is, it's a major deal. And as I was sitting in the hospital room with my father and my brother and my sister and my mother, with my dad in the hospital bed as he's recovering from a successful surgery, I couldn't help but make some observations on how, a couple years ago, the only way I would have known to navigate this emotional and mental anguish would be with pornography. That was the only pain medicine I knew of that worked. And as I look back on this past week, I think about how the new pain protocol that I have in my life works so well and has 0 side effects. Not unlike, if you're taking oxycodone for too long, that's a problem. If you're taking too much, too fast, too long, right, it is going to be a problem. If you're using porn as the coping mechanism for pain in your life for too long, it turns into a big problem. I think about how this past week I was able to use my active recovery of meditation, reading, journaling, walking as my daily routines to just sit in the very uncomfortable emotions on a daily basis and just sit with them and think, okay, what's actually going on here? And let the pain dissipate using these healthy emotional pain management skills that I've been building for the past 2 years in recovery, putting in the reps. Because there's no doubt that if I had not been doing the work, I would have gone so far down the abyss into pornography just to manage the pain. I wouldn't have been able to cope with it otherwise. And I look back on this past week with kind of this amazement that I was able to be present for my mom, who's freaking out and terrified that her man is going through this surgery. They've been married for 45, almost 46 years. Her partner for her life is going through this, and she's facing a procedure herself. My younger sister, who just finalized her divorce earlier this year, thinking that my father may be gone. I'm not ready for that. My brother, who's 10 years younger than I am, and all the chaos of having really small children and a full-time real estate career and worrying about his parents. Me being able to sit in that space with, really, to borrow from the New Testament, with a peace that passes understanding. To sit there with a peace that passes understanding and be present with strength and solidarity, with peace and power, it was amazing. And I've had conversations with my father about this exact same thing, about this thing, and how my recovery, I have been training for this moment. Just like my dad, he's been lifting weights for a year and a half, building up his legs because he wants to be able to use the bathroom by himself in his old age. Things like that. Putting in the reps paid dividends that, for everything else, they're priceless. For everything else, there's MasterCard, right? Just like those MasterCard commercials. For being able to stay peaceful and calm and strong in the midst of such emotional and mental chaos this past week, that is priceless. There literally is no way to put a price tag on that. And all that to say, brothers, if you're out there listening, whatever it takes to build freedom from the grip of pornography in your life is worth it. Learning how to sit with the pain, learning how to navigate the pain, learning how to release the pain without going for the pain pill. Is it easy? No. You know it's not easy. I'm not going to bullshit you and say it's easy, right? I quit thousands of times. Real recovery is work. But it is so worth it. The rewards on the other side are difficult to explain what they feel like. But once you get a taste of what real recovery is like, I promise you're not going to go back. We're not talking about white-knuckling it for 30 days to build a new habit. We're talking about learning the skills to really become aware of where the addiction came from. Learning the skills to really be able to navigate the pain without reaching for the hard drugs of porn to cope with it. Being able for the pain to just float right on by and keep taking steps forward. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to
it. Beautiful, Yeadon. Man, I think about the conversation we've had here on this show and outside of the podcast so many times, maybe within the community, that we show up to do the work around pornography, making this change in our lives. And as you often say, I showed up here to the community thinking I was going to work on my relationship with porn, but when I found that I was actually going to work on the relationship with myself.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that it would actually require me to become a better man. And what I think is beautiful and almost a gift of this journey is that, yeah, we are showing up to go to work on porn because it's so destructive, but it's really about so much more than that. And the journey to get there requires all this growth and this beautiful development in so many key ways, and the building of these tools that you now have, which cascade throughout all the rest of your life and contribute to being a greater man and of greater service to everyone in your life and every aspect of your life.
Yeah. I think every man really, truly craves becoming the best version of himself.
Right.
Somewhere deep down. And the problem is, like, we get punched by life so often. We feel like a failure because life is so overwhelming. We reach for the pain pill, we reach for the porn, whatever the addiction is. We reach for that coping mechanism, knowing that it is not the solution, but we don't have anything else to use. We don't have anything else. It's the only thing available. And in some aspects, it's like, okay, I almost want to say, I don't really want to say it because somebody's going to twist it, but I almost want to say it's like, porn is what I needed when I was a teenager as a coping mechanism because it wasn't anything else. Right? Somebody who gets addicted to Oxy, it's like, it's not their fault. They got prescribed a pain med from a doctor and they were on it too long. Something happened for them to get trapped in it. Something happened for me to get trapped in porn. And I was stuck until I got on the path, because something bigger than myself forced me to. I was like, I cannot not do anything about this anymore. I have to do something. I have three sons and a daughter. I have to figure out something that I can teach them to avoid the path I'm on. What I ended up finding was recovery and freedom for myself. And now I look back on my addiction journey, like, I'm grateful for my porn addiction because it led me to the work of where I am today. And there's no doubt in my mind, I am becoming the most badass version of Yeadon that I possibly can be, with no hesitation. 5 years ago, I was like, yeah, I'm becoming a better version of myself, but I still have this holding me back. I'm good in all these areas, but I can't shake this shadow. And now, by navigating through that shadow, healing what was hurt on the inside, learning how to cope with the pain in healthy ways, it's like, holy crap, I am a badass. This is a badass life that I'm going to build for the rest of my time here on earth. And I'm going to pass it on to my children. And it's going to spill over into my sister, my brothers, my parents, my friends, my family. Everybody I come in contact with is going to be influenced by this greatness that I have finally discovered the path toward. So, man, if you're out there listening and you're struggling, dude, I feel it. It is dark out there. My invitation is, check us out at porntopurpose.com. Shoot me or Matt, shoot us a private message. Let's have a conversation about where you are, what you're going through, because we know what it's like. And we can just have a conversation. Maybe the Liberation Boot Camp is what you're looking for. Maybe it's something else. Wherever you are, we want to talk. That's our offer, man. Check us out, porntopurpose.com. however you found the podcast. We're grateful. Give us a like and a follow. It really helps spread this word of recovery.
Amen. Amen. Beautiful story today, Yeadon. Thanks for sharing, and thanks for bringing, your testimony of like real life results, to the conversation here today, because I mean, that's what we're showing up here for. We're showing up to do this work and to make this change because of the real world impact potential in our life, man. And I really honor you for the way in which you demonstrate it. So thank you for bringing it here.
Thank you, brother. Always good to be here with you on the podcast. Listeners, we'll catch you next time on the next episode of the Born to Purpose podcast. In the meantime, peace and power.
Power. Noble men. See you guys.